Tales from the Crypt.
Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to episode 192 of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Admiral Jason. Today, I'm joined by Ensign Seaman Mondo.
Wait, what?
I'm promoting you to
Hello.
Ensign Seaman.
Admiral.
And we have, how do you say that? Boatswain, Jody?
I just like that one because it doesn't sound anything like what it's spelled like. It's Bosson.
Boston.
Oh.
There you go.
I only know that because of another podcast I was listening to.
I've seen that word in books. I've never actually looked it up.
That's
I
one of
just
those
always
book
remember it.
words. Yeah, one of those words that I only knew from books and had no idea how to pronounce until I heard it on a podcast. So,
Is that the first time you hear an Italian person say bruschetta and you're like, hold on a second.
wait a second.
And joining us for another Black Mirror episode is our good friend, Mr. David Arnold.
Friends, it is so great to be back. Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah. For those that you were on the Bede Noir episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, what a wild swing to go from something that was so technically and ethereally in the mind to just a celebration of queer icon Cristin Milioti. So like, thanks for bringing me on for the beginning of Pride Month. We're here, we're queer. I'm so happy.
I actually had no idea that she was.
Oh my God, our
no.
queen.
Well, to me, she's
I have my Pride tank top on too, just by pure
Perfect.
accident.
See?
All right. For those that did not listen to our other episode, which they really should, why don't you tell people about yourself?
Yeah, so I do a couple of other podcasts out in the world where I typically look at a piece of media and talk about the themes of it. The big one that I'm on is called Gimmicks. It is a podcast where we look at weird, high concept, and experimental episodes of television. And when you all had me on for Bet Noir, I was like, oh, I don't think I could do Black Mirror for Gimmicks because all the episodes are weird. And then I was so inspired that we decided to cover San Junipero. So that'll be coming out here soon.
Awesome.
Because we thought, you know, what it is, it's a spin on Black Mirror's usual, like, leave you feeling like shit, and instead leaves you feeling kind of happy and like how great were the 80s.
I like that.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get into it. Jody, what are we covering this week?
All right. So this week we are technically covering the final episode of the current season 7. Is it 7?
Mhm.
USS Callister Into Infinity. But in order to do that, we need to rewind to season 4, episode 1, and talk about USS Callister. So we're doing 3 whole hours of Black Mirror tonight because these were some long ass episodes.
Wow, they really were.
And for the record, I suggested we do both. I did not watch the first one, so I'm just going to let you guys. I've seen it before. I was on a 4-day trip to a metal festival, and figured on the way home I was going to watch both episodes, and it was the worst day of travel I've ever had.
Oh man,
I got to the airport at 10 a.m. Eastern time. By the time I got to my house back in Vegas, it was probably 5:30 a.m. Eastern time. So it's just a rough day of travel. So I watched the second episode, and then I'll go back and watch the first one because I want to kind of like do it backwards to piece it all together. And then by the time I got to my layover, and my other flight got delayed by 2 hours, I was like, I was stewing. I was not happy, and didn't want to watch Black Mirror anymore.
Yeah,
Mondo, real quick, speaking of your metal festival, do you want to shout out anyone?
Oh yeah, shout out. I was gonna do this during the song of the day, but that's okay, Jason. We'll just do it now. Since you're the admiral, you make the rules. Yeah, shout out to our good friend Matt, who's a listener of ours. I've met up with him the past couple years in Maryland for Death Fest and had a great time. He's a great person. His wife Meredith is also an awesome person. And shout out to you guys for welcome me into your little group. And I met some of the other friends from the where he lives. I'm not going to say where he lives because let me go ahead and his address, his name. Here's a list of his fears and
oh my gosh,
people he cares about. But shout out to those guys. It was a really great time, and I recommend to everybody go to a metal festival. It reminds me of a horror convention in a lot of ways where you ever get that feeling when you're wearing your horror shirt and you're walking, you see some normie give you a weird look and you feel judged. You don't feel that you don't feel that at a horror convention. You don't feel like that at a metal festival either. And everyone there is just have a good time. When you go to a local show, a lot of times you will meet a lot of assholes, for lack of a better word, because they had $15 that night. Sure. Show and be a dick. I don't know if you guys just saw at Punk Rock Bowling here in Las Vegas. It happened on the same weekend, so I never go. But a Nazi got beat up there.
Well, I did see that.
Yeah, we love them getting beat up. That's great.
The guy decided to show up in an SS shirt on, thinking he was going to be all funny, and people were not having it. And he got his ass whipped, and rightfully so. But generally, you don't get those kind of people when you at bigger festivals because it costs more money to get in. You have to make travel plans and everything. So I'd highly recommend it to anyone that's ever thought about doing it, even if you're going solo. Like I went solo this year and just met up with them. But it's going to be a good time. I promise you. You only have a bad time if you try to have a bad time.
Nice. All right, roundabout way of going, Jody. Tell us what this episode.
All right, so we're starting with, like I said, season 4, episode 1, USS Callister. And because, again, 3 hours worth of actual viewing, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the plot just because, it's already late. We can't spend all night doing this. All right, so the basic idea is in this company called Callister, they have created a very immersive, procedurally generated video game called Infinity. And the way you enter it, it's the thing that everyone really wants from video games. They put a little thing on their head and then they go into the game. It's a virtual reality type situation. In there, you can go to different planets and you fight people and just the typical stuff you would do in a space type game. But we meet the creator of the game, a man named Robert Daly, played by Jesse Plemons. Plemons, yeah, who I always love in everything, and he did not disappoint because he's the co-founder of the company. He's the one who actually knows how to code. His friend slash co-founder is the face of the company. He's the guy who everyone knows and whose name everyone knows and respects. But he's the guy who actually makes it happen. At work, though, nobody really likes him. He's kind of a weird guy. He asks uncomfortable questions and does not know how to interact with people very well. And so what he does to blow off some steam is he created sentient virtual clones of most of his coworkers, imported them into a private server for his game, and then basically makes them do whatever he wants, which mostly includes reenacting scenes from his favorite 1960s space television show, Space Fleet. Is that what they call it?
Space Fleet. Yeah.
It's Star Trek. It's Star Trek. But so at first it seems kind of harmless, like, okay, all these people are in this world and he does, nerd stuff. But then we find out he also abuses them. He yells at them. He has complete power over the server because, again, he's the coder. So he can do things like turn them into monsters and make them stay. And because they're sentient, when the game shuts down, they still continue to exist in this world, just waiting for this abusive god to come back and do more horrible things to them. And they all have all their memories because when they were cloned, somehow memories transferred. I don't know how that works. I never know how it works. It doesn't matter.
That's the one thing that always annoys me in these situations in sci-fis, because, like, okay, I can get behind cloning or genetics and stuff, but not memories and thoughts.
Well, I mean, we're already up to the point of sentient digital clones, so I think we're definitely in sci-fi territory.
No, that's Jason's line. He says, "I can buy sentient clones."
In Alien Resurrection, too far. In Alien Resurrection drives me nuts every time. But go on.
Okay, so the sentient clones, they have kind of a torturous existence, but there's a new worker at the company. What is her character name?
It is Nanette Cole.
Nanette Cole. Nanette is coming in. She is kind of enamored with Daly because he is this coder and she's a coder and he does the best code and he's made amazing inventions. So she's nice to him, basically. And some people you just can't be nice to, because once he finds out that she just admires him and doesn't really want to sleep with him, then he puts her into the game as well. She finds out very quickly that he will do terrible things to her, make her mouth and face disappear, but she still needs to breathe. Just awful things. But while he is gone, they hatch a plan led by Nanette, who wants, he has like a communicator thing that connects to the real world. And so she manages to get in touch with herself. It doesn't work the first time, but then she manages to blackmail herself by breaking into her own iCloud picture thing and sending back her naughty pictures to herself, saying, "I'll release them to all your friends and family if you don't do what we say." Great plan. She knows herself well enough to know that it will work. And so real life Nanette goes into Daly's house, steals all the DNA samples, because we find out not only has he done what he's done to the people we've seen, but his co-founder, his supposed friend, his son was in the office one day. Daly took a sucker that the kid had been sucking on, and so he was able to get his DNA, and he brought his son into the game just to murder him. And again, this is not just like a digital version of his son. This is a sentient version that feels pain and bleeds, and he threw him out of the airlock and he died and watched his own son die in front of him. So he's completely nuts, completely sociopath. He will do anything to these people, and they know it. And so through some trickery, they managed to get a hold of that. They steal the DNA samples, and then they try to keep him busy by ordering pizza and things like that. And while he's away, they are able to pilot the ship towards a wormhole that is based on the update that is coming to the system. And so if they can hit that wormhole, they figure it will erase our existence, and that sucks, but better than being here in his little horrible playground. They go, manage to get through, and they don't actually die. All of his old code is stripped out because it's his little private server with the space fleet thing was outside of the main game. So they flew through the wormhole, got into the main game. And so now they're just there. They're not stuck in the 60s anymore. And he's stuck back in his old server where he is unable to exit the game because of the update. And he dies in real life, sitting there because he's trapped in the game.
Yeah.
And so they decide, hey, we're still alive. We have 1 billion procedurally generated worlds. Let's just go explore. And before they could do that, though, they do run into one asshole gamer who threatens to kill them within the first minute of them being on. And that's a preview for the next episode. All right, so that's everything for the USS Callister. Do we want to talk about both or just one at a time? I think one at a time.
I say both.
Okay,
then we can give our opinion on both.
I should have got some coffee tonight, man.
Lock it in, Jody. The next one's 2 hours long.
I know.
You can go quick. You can be brief if you want.
All right. I felt like we had to get all that background because almost all of it comes back in this next one. So 3 months after the events of the USS Callister, Daly is obviously dead in the real world. He's no longer in the game either. His server's been deleted. And Nanette and her crew are trying to survive. And one of the things they don't have is in-game currency because they are not actual gamers. They are real characters within the game. And so the only way to get currency is to go rob other people. And so they're basically pirates trying to survive to get enough money to get fuel and keep going. In the real world, there's an investigative reporter who comes to Callister. He interviews the founder. I forgot what his name was.
Walton.
What's that?
Walton.
Yes. Interviews the founder and reveals to him that there have been a lot of complaints about the game lately. There are these no-name characters that don't have gamer tags who are stealing people's money directly in the game. And one of them got shot and they bled, and that's, outside of the parameters of what the game is supposed to be. He also asked questions about Robert Daly because he, in the video of the first responders who came when he died, you can see the cloning machine sitting on his desk. And so the reporter theorizes maybe Daly made clones and they're running amok in your game and robbing people. He's exactly right, because Nanette and her crew are those clones. But that makes Walton panic. Real life Nanette is following this whole thing. And so she offers, she gets suspicious, and she said, I think I might know how to find out what's happening. They get into, or she watches a video where one of the players was getting robbed, recognizes herself and one of the other people from the ship in that video. And so she puts it all together, pieces together that there is a digital clone of her living within the game, and that's what's causing the problem. And so she and Walton make a plan to go into the game. I forgot to mention, in the first one, Walton dies. The digital Walton dies. But in this one, we find out he maybe didn't die, and he respawned on a new planet. And so everyone's converging on this planet, both our digital clone people and the real life people. They go into the game, and everyone gets there. Walton and Nanette meet the digital Walton and Nanette, and they all end up back on the ship together. And they tell them what their plan is. What they want to do is to fly into the center of the game. They call the heart of something.
It's the heart of infinity.
Heart of infinity. Heart of infinity. They want to fly into the center of the game because that's where the game's source code lies. And if they can get to the source code, they can do basically what had been done to them under Daly and partition themselves off on a kind of private area that no other people can get to. They don't have to worry about fuel, and nobody will try to kill them all the time. And when they let everyone know this plan, Walton goes nuts and tries to murder them. He actually does manage to kill one of the players, and then he gets his virtual in-game head blown off, which makes real him wake up in the real world. This is very complicated to explain. It makes it's very easy to follow when you're watching it, but talking about it is hard. So you've got Clone Walton is still in the game, and he says, okay, if we're going to do this, there's something you need to know about the source code, what you're actually going to find in there. And what we find out is that when he met a young Daly, who was this genius working in his garage, and he put a lot of money at it, what they did to help the game speed up development was they made a digital clone of Daly and put him in the center of the game, giving him God mode powers. And basically, instead of the game being procedurally generated by code, there is a him that lives within the game and just creates all the worlds all the time. It's been doing it virtually for like 500 years because of the amount of time, how time works in there. And so in order for them to get what they want, Ned has to go talk to Daly, who was a giant asshole and tried to murder them and did terrible things to them. So they get into the heart. Real Walton is now staying out of the game because every time he goes in, he gets beat up pretty quick. So he's just watching the whole thing and rooting for, he jumps in just long enough to call a bunch of ships, everybody who they ever robbed within the game. He calls out to all of them, and so they all come to kill them. Meanwhile, Nanette goes into the Heart of Infinity, meets Daly, and it's kind of the original version of him before he got bitter, before he got angry, before he'd been completely used by Walton. And he kind of seems like a decent guy. And he says, so what I can do is I can transfer all of you and your crew and everybody to a private server, like we said. Said also in real life, the real life Lynette had been hit by a car earlier in this episode, and she's hooked up to a machine with leads going to her brain. And he says, actually, I can access those leads and put you back into your real life body. The two consciousness will merge. That one's basically brain dead anyway. It'll be fine. But if I do that, your crew's going to die. Mm-hmm. And she says, okay, well, I want the crew to live, even if I have to stay stuck in here. I said, actually, that was a test. I can do better than that. Everybody can live. I can put you back in. I can put them back in. I didn't want to say that until you pass my test. And so he said, all right, we're going to copy and paste everybody. I thought it was really clever how small the little detail it was. And we're going to copy and paste everybody over. And she says, no, not copy and paste, cut and paste. We don't want a version of us left behind in this world. We want to go to a different world, just one of us. And that's when Daly says, yeah, but I kind of want to make a version of you that stays here with me because I'm very lonely. And so basically you can kind of forever be with me. I probably am not going to do anything unless you want to. And she's not having any of that. He you know, the bad side of Daly was always kind of there. He was just a nice guy before, but it was still under the surface. And so she throws like the equivalent of like a Klingon sword at his head, and it stabs him and kills the digital him, which triggers the entire system to shut down. While that's all happening, though, she's frantically trying to insert the correct disk into the computer system that will transfer her and her crew into this private server. And she jams the disk in, and the whole game shuts down and deletes itself. And Walton's watching back from his office, and he sees his entire fortune just basically disappear in a second. And then Nanette wakes up in the hospital, and she's back in her body again. But also so is everybody else. They're all inside her brain, inside the ship. They can see out through her eyes. We see some news footage where Walton is being taken to jail because that reporter does expose everything. He gets an anonymous tip, I'm assuming, from Nanette. And basically, they ask if she's still working on figuring out a way to get them out of her head. And she's like, yeah, I'm getting to it. Has some notes scribbled down. And they all sit down to watch The Real Housewives. And that's the end of it.
Perfect.
Amazing. Thank you, Jody.
I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
Deep breath there, buddy.
All right, David, start us off. What do you think?
Wow, there's so much to do. I think that one of the most interesting through lines is going to be Plemons' role as Daly. And I think that when we're first introduced to the character, there is sort of a sense of empathy that I had for the character, that this does look just upon like a put upon guy. His friend has sort of betrayed him and now is like an asshole boss. But then, and even that first sequence, I think you said this in the Callister, it's just kind of fun. It's a fun holodeck day. It's the second one where things go a little awry, and Plemons has had Daly has had a bad day, and he, sort of is cruel to the crew, forces Walton to go down on hands and knees so he can use him like a footrest. They are like, oh, this is now like sort of a fantasy space for you to like abuse your coworkers. All right, well, we do that in our minds. Like, this is just the Black Mirror version of that. When Nanette gets introduced, that's when you realize that this is like much, much bigger to that. And I like that fish out of the water used to tell the first story. And then equally, and Jody gave us a little bit of this, when you meet Daly again in the follow-up episode, we again feel like, oh, well, this is just a guy and he's been stuck here and he's actually really nice. But then the moment he has an opportunity to misuse this new person, he takes it. And so Daly's kind of rotten at the core, but I think Plemons is so good in like everything he's ever been in, but this as well, that I do root for him because he has a lot of charisma.
He keeps managing to trick me in these episodes.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking like, oh, okay, we're getting the nice version of Plemons. Oh, wait, no, never mind.
For better or worse, also, it to Daly, it is not necessarily about sexual conquest. It does seem to be about power and control. I don't know that really is for better or worse. It's really just worse, but it does speak to a different level. I mean, in his sort of space fleet world, he has all of the characters without genitalia. That is, I love that was the red line for Nanette. It is it is a pretty outstanding delivery of a line that stealing my pussy is a red line. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good hero moment for Nanette to have.
All right, Mondo.
Yeah, I really like this episode. I like Jesse Plemons has this innate ability to be terrifying in everything he's in because he's so good at just stoicism.
Yeah.
If you guys have seen Civil War, his character
yeah.
in Civil War is bone chilling.
Terrifying.
Which is how ready he is to kill people. And much like you, David, I still root for the guy sometimes because
I know.
he's also very charming in everything he's in as well, to an extent. But yeah, you kind of feel at the beginning that he's just this misunderstood guy that was abused and taken advantage of, and then it quickly comes out that there are some deep-seated things. Like the dude needs therapy, is what it comes down to. Like if he saw a good therapist, if he made himself a therapist in his game world, he'd be in much better shape. But the characters in this are great. They're all very, very well done, all very fun characters. I love that they don't even tell the captain that they're watching Real Housewives until they leave. And now it's kind of just a real fun moment in these other really intense scenes. And the way they make the antagonists kind of being the gamers that don't even know what they're doing, but so you can't really be mad at them because they're just playing a game. In their world, they're just pissed off that they got killed by these people in the game world and lost what it sounded like. They paid real money for these credits.
Yes.
They lost this money, so they're pissed off. This also is a lot about the current like capitalism models they have in video games, where they give you pay $70 and you get 75% of the game sometimes, and then you have to pay money. I'm looking at you, EA.
Yeah.
You fuckers. And everything and your 8,000 versions of The Sims, whatever the hell else you guys do. And also I did like the Walton character too. I forgot the actor's name, but he's so good. He was great in
Jimmy
Westworld.
Simpson.
Yeah, great in everything he's done. And and also talks a lot of, it's also a lot of a commentary about AI and where AI is kind of going. And deep fake. I thought it was really about deep fakes too, and because they even talked about how the DNA replicator was originally meant for the pornography industry. And I was like, that's fucking terrifying, because I'm sure someone has tried that.
I hate to reveal this to you all, but you are public images. Like someone has made a chatbot to try to seduce of each of you. Like that is just out there in the world.
I think it's coming to the real
It's
me.
not
Easy
me.
guy.
Right.
Stop looking at me, Jason.
I would do it for like half the price. So
don't waste all that water. Just schedule a call.
If we ever go to Jason's house, we're gonna see like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they have the Mac doll, or the not Mac, the Dennis doll.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a good one, and the ending. I'm interested at what you guys think of the ending, because the one kind of thing at the ending that did get me a little bit is when she was very dismissive when they asked her that about her trying to get them out of her head at that point. Like, is she really trying, or is she now becoming a megalomaniac in a little way, in a slight manner, because she has this power now? So
yeah,
I thought that was very interesting.
I was also wondering on that note whether it's like the writers are kind of like, well, we don't quite know what we're gonna do, so we'll get to it another season.
Leave them there. We'll play with it later.
Yeah,
kind of like Back to the Future 1, where they're like, oh yeah, we've got another mission, but not quite sure. We're gonna write ourselves into a corner. We'll figure out later.
Oh, and the castaway angle. I actually love the castaway angle. And when she gets the rock and she goes, why does it have a hole in it? And then she thinks about it and just throws it. I was audibly laughing on the airplane at that point.
Yeah, Jamie Simpson's like throwaway, don't worry about it, is so amazing. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen the first one, so I watched them essentially back to back over like 2 days or whatever. This was I mean, I grew up watching Star Trek, and I love the new J.J. Abrams. The first one they did was really great, so I love that too. And Jesse Plemons looks a lot like kind of Chris Pine mashed with like a little Matt Damon. He has a little Shatner affect going on. In the way that I didn't know that part of the episode was going to take place in the quote real world. I didn't know the premise at all, so I thought the whole thing was going to be like Star Trek mode.
Yeah,
in the 4x3. So when they flipped to the real world, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. And then when we see that the whole thing was just, his power fantasy, I'm like, oh, they're going real deep on there. because they start him off as like the typical Black Mirror protagonist, as like downtrodden, put upon tech geek, and they really flip the script on like the dark side of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything we said about his performance just is terrifying, nightmare inducing. And then when Cristin's character sees him in the second episode, you could see like the PTSD comes right back to her just by seeing him, and how like she's keeping her space from him. It's the body language really, really sells that. She does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And then you can see how he keeps saying, "I'm just a nice guy. I really am a nice guy." And you can see how quickly he turns into not a nice guy.
That tends to be a red flag for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder why women say they choose the bear. Well, there you go. She was by herself in a house in a world with one man, and look what fucking happened.
One guy.
But I actually really loved how Milioti portrayed Nanette, and this like I think a lot of Black Mirror has a foot in horror, but so much of Nanette's story is just tropified horror, which is just really, really nice to see on television. In the end of the first USS Callister, she is a final girl, and then you do in a sequel what you do with a final girl in a sequel, which is let them confront and have trauma be at front of mind and confront who traumatized them, and that was really, really nice. I feel like USS Callister was a fine episode all by itself. And so when I started the follow-up, I was like, oh God, am I going to hate this? And I did have a really good time. And the episode does spend the first 30 minutes being like, hey, remember last episode? I know it was 3.5 years ago or whatever. So it wasn't just all of us watched it for this conversation. But I think if you just put it on as watching season 7, you got a lot of the first episode ingrained into you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good recap. Very good recap.
Yeah. If I'm going to compare them, I definitely think the first one's stronger just because everything is so new and they're playing with a lot of expectations. I mean, there's plenty of good ideas in the second one, but it's just not as quite novel as it was the first time around.
It's a lot of the same ideas too. It's it's explored a little bit further, but it's the same. What is sentience? What is life? Right. Those kind of things are. We've already talked about them.
Well, and there's a really fun moment of Nanette and Nanette together, and sort of clone Nanette being like, oh, don't say sorry. Like, I know I used to do that all the time. Yeah. And what does it mean for a replicated version of yourself to have made more therapeutic progress than you did? Is a really interesting question. We don't spend a lot of time in it because they're literally like bigger stakes to deal with. And that's a much smaller, like black box theater question. But it is a really fun moment between the two. Well, between Milioti acting against, I assume, a stand-in and then filming it again, which just again speaks to what a fantastic actor this is.
Yeah, she even says oh, she's so assertive.
Yeah,
she kind of has a crush on herself, and I was like, yeah, get it, Nanette. That's what I would do. I wouldn't clone someone else, clone myself. I know what's going on.
Well, and then again, I don't know if they had these ideas when they wrote the first one that Robert Daly had actually cloned himself to do all the work for him. I mean, which makes sense, why do it yourself and you just clone someone and have them do it all, and you can just do whatever you want. So I thought that was a really cool idea, which again, maybe they had that in mind, maybe they came up with it later, but I thought that was neat.
What a severance idea too, to sort of have your innie and you get to go live your life happily on the outside.
I really love Jimmy Simpson's acting as well, because he plays, again, he's playing different versions of himself. One where he's a huge douchebag, and the other one where he's like been taught his place and has been humbled. And it's such a cognitive dissonance to see the same actor play within the same like episode playing completely different versions.
Oh yeah.
But then you have to like switch. Remember to switch your sympathies.
Yeah.
Every time he pops up. I thought that was neat. And again, the supporting cast was really good. I don't have their names in front of me, but like I like the woman with the Eastern European accent, who's the comms woman. She was real funny. I liked her a lot.
It's incredible. And I think that one of the things that like tickled me the most at the end of Into Infinity is them just sort of resigning themselves to watch Real Housewives. Yeah. Because in the episode, I was like, 2-hour runtime, babes. We could have cut this out. It's fun. It's camp. I love it. But like some things I got to hit the floor. And yet by the end, that sort of being the resolution, I was really happy that those little beats were in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then, I mean, you can predict some of the things, like when Nanette gets Final Destination by a car really randomly. You're like, okay, she's gonna be brain dead. That's how she's gonna get out. You kind of called it, but you know,
Yeah.
I love a good sudden car crash. Sure, why not? And then there's the other guy. Again, I don't have his name from me. Who plays the blonde, really douchey guy in the real world? Who they make into like the villain character. He's actually really fun, underrated actor. He was in like The Big Short. He was recently in the new Lilo and Stitch movie.
Oh, was he?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as like the tall, skinny alien that's chasing after the Lilo or Stitch. He's actually a really good comedic actor, and I'd like to see more of him. I'm kind of a fan of him now.
Billy Magnuson, I believe, is that one.
Yeah.
He was a lot of fun, especially as the villain.
Yeah.
I think he was fine in the follow-up episode, but in the first episode, because he is high camp against Daly's high camp Kirk, it's really, really fun.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes in the first one when they're having, a typical Star Trek battle out in a desert place where there's a guy and there's a monster, and then he has to pause the game. And so everyone's just kind of left like hanging. And so they all revert back to their normal personalities. And the monster is, somebody else who worked in the office. They're like, hey, how you doing? You doing all right over here? Just it switched from, high adventure to office politics pretty quick. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. Because at some level, all Star Trek, and we don't often think about it this way, but like all Star Trek is kind of workplace comedy or workplace drama or workplace action, because it is a workplace. We just covered Star Trek: The Next Gen for Gimmicks, and one of the things that we realized in covering it is that sometimes you don't even get a captain's log because it was just a day at the office and like nothing cool happened, and like it's weird to think about, but like a pad is just how they read email. And that it kind of broke my heart a little bit, because I was like, I want this future. And then I don't want email. That like email can't make it to the 24th century. That would be the worst thing ever.
Now there was a fun bit at the very end when they're watching TV. There's a ticker on the bottom. Did you guys happen to catch that?
No,
yeah,
I didn't see it.
It's got the part 2 of the game they reference in the previous episode.
Yeah,
Oh,
someone went like screen by screen and got all of them. So yeah, Throngle's 2 launches to critical acclaim is 1. Hotel Reverie reboot hits Streamberry. Rivermine CTO steps down. Thank God. That's from the first
Common
episode.
People. Yeah. Ooh, what a heartbreak there.
And then this is a real fun one. Former UK Prime Minister Michael Callell enters celebrity vet school.
Wow.
I didn't catch that.
Wow. Good pulls there.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a fun thing to do for Black Mirror to sort of reference itself. And I was curious what you all thought about there being a direct sequel episode in this anthology series, because I think the closest that we've really rubbed shoulders with this is like Black Museum, which just sort of took functionary props from all the other episodes and used them to craft a story around, but it wasn't really a sequel. It was just sort of fun references the way this ticker is. And yet this episode is a direct sequel. And I thought, do we think we're going to see more of this from the franchise?
I think if they have an idea that warrants it, that's really, really good, sure, why not? As long as it's good, I'll take it. Like, I don't want like a whole season of sequels. Like, okay, throw in like one a season, sure.
Well, it works because the first one had a at least semi-happy ending for Black Mirror, so that you actually can continue. Most of them end so depressingly. Like, there's not much more to go with. Like, we want to see the further adventures of the guy who had to smother his wife with a pillow. Oh no, no, it's fine. There's nothing good to do for the rest of it. So.
Damn, Joe, you got dark there.
Like, oh, that's the series. That's the problem. Yeah, but not even the happy ending stories. Like, I don't need a Striking Vipers too. Like, I assume those guys keep hooking up. Like, good for them. Or I don't need a San Junipero too. Like, lesbians go on adventures in the 80s. I already got it. I don't need more.
Yeah.
God, a lot of the happy stories are queer based. That's good job, Black Mirror. Gays deserve happiness.
Yeah, I kind of like it when it's not every episode. Like Hello Darkness, which is a comic series, they do that where it's an anthology book. but I think but they had one story that was spanning every book. So it's kind of cool you get 3 new stories and 1 continuation. And I think that's really neat when they can do that. But much like you guys all said, it has to make sense.
Yeah, it has to be a really deliberate choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
the first one, I think the first one fully stands on its own. It's a great episode. And of the 2, it's the better episode, I think. But I like seeing more from this. I mean, a lot of it's just this cast, because the cast is so good. I'm happy to watch more of whatever they're doing on here.
Yeah.
With Jesse Plemons and Jimmy Simpson, Cristin Milioti. Like, they're so fun to watch that I want to keep watching more.
My only real devastation of Into Infinity was Michaela Cole, I think it is, but now I'm getting that confused. Michaela Cole, who plays Shania, who was the original sort of Uhura like in USS Callister. I have to assume that there was some sort of scheduling issue or something, because everyone else comes back and she just sort of gets an off-screen death between episodes. But I really like her.
Yeah, according to IMDb, it was a scheduling issue.
Oh, bummer. I mean, that just happens in Hollywood, and good for her for getting other work. But she was so good.
Yeah. For a while, before they mentioned her off-screen death, I thought she was going to show up like on another ship to save the day or something like that. But no.
But I guess it did in the end kind of help show the stakes a little bit, that they can die.
Yeah.
So, happy accident, I guess, on that.
Yeah. I mean, and I like that I feel like these episodes, especially these 2, they're playing really loose with the Black Mirror rules, because there's so many references and stuff. Like when they go through all the other gamers, if you look like on their posters and stuff, or the music that like references other episodes, like there's a what's his name, Waldo or whatever, poster one of the guys' rooms, and there was that one with Miley Cyrus who plays the Pops singer, and they're playing one of her songs. So like they're able to just throw everything at the wall and just say, we'll have fun with it. Not everything has to be like this uber calculated, depressing gray world.
I do like the idea of Black Mirror going, hey, we're going to have kind of a fun self-referential episode, and it's going to involve someone throwing a kid into an airlock and dying, and people's faces disappearing. Like, this is light. This is light for us.
Yeah. This is a real fun episode, honestly.
And again, the effects look really good. I love the props and the costumes. It looks great.
Oh, that first scene when you don't know what it's going to be and it just looks like a straight Star Trek thing is so good. Like, it looks so great.
Yeah, I was almost disappointed when we flashed to the real world.
For a moment, I
was like, no, I wanted like an hour and a half of just straight Star Trek.
And while the follow-up episode was great, and I do think that costuming across all Black Mirror is, I mean, really, really high-level production value, the 60s aesthetic from the original USS Callister is so good. Yeah. Cristin Milioti in this wig, she saved lives that day when she showed up to work, because that thing is the highest of camp. But like all of them, they look so good. And then they look good, but they look good in kind of a J.J. Abrams reboot Star Trek way. Like, it is a little bit more refined, a little bit more sleek, a little bit more designed, a little bit more modern. It looks cool. It's just not like Star Trek original series,
Yeah. Also, the moment I keep thinking of is when Walton has to call one of his fired developers to figure out how to enter his own game.
We're getting like peak Elon Musk here, right? Like,
exactly.
They said, Jimmy Simpson, like, have you met Elon Musk? Just think about this man.
That's definitely who he's trying to be. And I just wish there'd been some negotiation there. Like, I'll do it, but you're going to pay me a consulting fee of X amount of money, or
sell me up front right now because you're not going to pay me.
Right. Yeah. Poor guy.
I think though he was happy just to tell him that everything had been deleted.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
I think I'd be happy too. So I take that back.
I mean, haven't we all left a job and then like watched it burn afterwards and thought, oh, that's great. I'm so happy that they are struggling now that I'm gone. I have.
Well, okay, they were struggling, but Apple still did okay when I left. I just want to say,
okay. Apple's a little bigger.
There's still time. Hold out hope.
Yeah.
It works better when you can destroy a small company by leaving. I mean, just personally.
This is Jody's villain arc, super villain arc right here.
I know.
Yeah, Jody, what's going on? What's this like latent
You-
narcissism? I
Are
hear
you
in your
building
voice?
websites with like a kill switch?
Yeah.
No. I definitely have had jobs where walking out the door and then I hear from other coworkers like, oh yeah, no, since you've gone, that's like we're having a lot of trouble. We can't find someone to fill it. I'm like, okay. This is
Did
good
you
stuff.
did you
I
meet
get
your
that.
coworkers for coffee and steal their coffee cups so that you could replicate them in your
Cool.
own little
Did
server?
not do that. I don't have the replicator technology.
Just checking. I thought it might be worth
Not
asking.
yet.
Not yet.
And you're not gonna get it with that attitude. So you
Yeah.
gotta work on this.
I really like, speaking of the replicator stuff, we start this and you find out they're like in the game for real with that. And it seems like something we've seen a million times before. And I love how like they slowly reveal the darkness of the whole thing. That it starts off, it's fun and playful. And then, oh, he's being mean to the virtual people. And then, oh no, they're real people with some kind of sentience. And what does that even mean at this point? And now we're torturing things that can feel.
Yeah.
And like it got darker and darker. You got that Black Mirror in there. It would have been, I think, lazy for them to have just done the video game for real thing. I like that they went a step further and made
Agreed.
it meaner.
Agreed.
Definitely.
All right, let's do our ratings. I figure we'll do a rating for each one of them. We do 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. Do half points. David, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give USS Callister a 5-star. I think it is a perfect Black Mirror in a time when Black Mirror was starting to struggle with what it was. They're in season 4, so it's like a really strong start to season 4. I think it is fantastic. I love Cristin Milioti. I love her. I have a lot of line readings from her written down because she just it's camp and beautiful every single time. I think she is so fantastic in world, especially, and I like that we get to follow that up later.
All right, and what do you give the second episode?
Beg your pardon. I'm probably going to give that 3.5. I had a wonderful time. I would still recommend it. I think in this instance, it sort of hurts into infinity that it's the end of a very good resurgence of Black Mirror episodes here in season 7. And the runtime, even though I don't really know what I would cut, the runtime, it's a pill to swallow because this was like a feature film rather than an episode of Black Mirror, and that is just a little difficult to sort of justify a higher rating for. I had a great time. I wouldn't recommend anyone turn away, but I'm gonna take that one a little bit lower. It was not a perfect experience for me.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, I'm right with you on the first one. The first one's 5-star. It's fantastic. Like I wouldn't change anything in it. Second one, I'll go just a little higher. I'm going to go 4 out of 5, but it definitely is a noticeable step down, especially when you watch it back to back, like I just did. Like if it had been 4 years since I'd watched it, maybe I would just be excited to be back in this world. But since I watched them literally one finish started the next one, you could really see kind of where the second one was lacking a little bit more. But still good though.
Mondo.
I gotta go a little bit lower on the first, only because I didn't remember it enough to justify it as 5 stars. 4.5 though, easy. I still had a lot of fun with it. I remembered it enough to where I was like, oh yeah, I had a really good time with it. But usually, if something's 5 stars, I'm never forgetting it.
Yeah,
it's never leaving my head. Second one too, I'm with Jody. I'll give it a 4 because I did like the conclusion of it, I like the world building, and I might have a higher opinion of it because I didn't rewatch the first one, maybe. So that could be a thing too.
All right. Yeah, I'm in the 5 camp for the first one. I think it's just pitch perfect. It's like terrifying and awe-inspiring at the same time and on many different levels. The second one, yeah, I'm going with the 4. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's coasting on the coattails of the first one, but I think the first one did so much setup and just really built just set such a solid foundation. This one is, it's just kind of a layup, really. Nothing wrong with it. Again, yeah, you definitely could tighten things up. But there's nothing bad about it at all. It's just not in comparison to the first one, especially after watching them back to back. So yeah. And it was jolting to see like a recap in front of a Black Mirror episode. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
That was an interesting moment. All right. Well, there you have it. Let's take a break and do a shout out.
Hi, I'm Todd Masters, and you're listening to Dads from the Crypt.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I love that guy. All right, Mondo, give us your song of the day.
All right, just because this band was very instrumental in my younger days, because I met the lead singer at Metal Fest, and I remember telling him a story about when they played Las Vegas when I was a very, very young man. I was like 21, 22, and back then every show was at like a bar in a strip mall. And this one was on Jones and Tropicana. It was a time in. It's now like a massage parlor or something. But back then, a lot of bands would play. And as Vegas shows went, at least, I don't know the rest of the world. But if they said the show started at 8, if the first band went on by 11 p.m., that was a good night. So I remember Hyrax came on as the sun was coming up. They started playing at like 4 a.m. And they played for like 2 hours. And the sun was up when I left. And
nice.
But the lead singer, Caden, he is just a very energetic person, running around this whole bar, like going to people at the bar stools and singing with them. And then Metal Fest was no exception. I got there just in time for their set, and they blew me out of the water again. These dudes started in the early 80s, so they're all in their 50s, close to 60s, and he's stage diving while he's singing into the crowd. And then meeting him after, I talked about the Vegas show. He goes, "Man, that's the only time we played Vegas," and we were joking about it. And I think he played it one other time he forgot about, but he remembered that show. He goes, "We went on at like 4 a.m." I was like, "Yeah,
oh my god,
yeah, it was insane." So it's the band is called Hyrax. The first record off Metal Blade Records was called Raging Violence, and I'll use the song they closed their night out with last week, which was called Bombs of Death. So check out Hyrax. Also very unique in the early 80s to have a person of color as your frontman, as a lead singer. And he actually has done some cool interviews talking about like the racism he felt back then and how much better things have gotten now. And it's awesome. It's kind of cool to hear that.
Yay. Progress. All right. Jody, give us some horror news.
All right. We'll start with releases. Just a couple big ones or bigger ones. Fear Street Prom Queen came out on Netflix. It's all right. It's pretty good. I mean, it's fine. It's not as good as the other Fear Street movies, I don't think, but it's fine. I had a decent time with it.
It's a perfectly acceptable slasher, and I think maybe for people who are just getting newer to horror, I think they're gonna have a good time with it.
Yeah, I liked it. I think my kids liked it more, but overall fine. Another one that's recently come out, Until Dawn, is now on digital, rental, all that kind of stuff. I like that one quite a bit, actually. I like that one more than I liked Prom Queen. We watched them 2 nights in a row with my daughters, and I think they all agreed with me that Until Dawn, it's a fun haunted house type movie, like not ghost haunted house, but like a haunted house attraction, like in the Halloween, where there's just a new monster every few minutes. There's something new happening. You know, neither of them are life-changing movies, but I think they're both pretty fun. We also today got our first trailer for Jimmy and Stiggs, the first movie that's coming out under Eli Roth's new production company, the horror section. And it's a Joe Bagos movie, so lots of neon, bright lights. I like Joe Bagos. I know some of his movies are kind of controversial as far as, some people love him, some people hate him. I'm on his wavelength most of the time, though. So,
yeah, I love VFW, but Christmas, he did the Christmas one too, right?
Violent Night, or
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I had to turn that off. I was like, I can't handle this right now.
Oh, yeah, I like VFW. I think I'm the only one who likes Bliss. His vampire, like, over the top drugs and music, and yeah, I really like it.
It very
what?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I like that one too, actually.
Okay,
and George Wendt was in that.
It had the late George Wendt in it.
Yeah.
I
didn't love it, but I was very divisive on it because visually it was amazing, but I think it was a little bit too long for me, at least when I watched it. But it was enough to where I wanted to watch it again. I'll put it that way.
I just remember enjoying the experience of watching Bliss because I watched it like, in a room with all the lights off except for the TV, and it's bright. There's colors. I had the sound turned way up. It's got a great soundtrack. So it's a audio visual experience as much as it is anything, and I enjoyed it.
He's also loaded on LSD, but that's a whole nother.
All right, another release coming soon, June 3rd. We're getting Sinners on digital, and I'm very excited because I missed it in theaters. I can't wait to watch it.
I did too. I'm very excited.
I ended up seeing it twice, so
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in English. Every showing here was in Spanish, and I just worried that my Spanish wasn't good enough to go see a horror film.
Oh wow! Do you have the option to do some theaters will they show it in like Spanish, but then put English subtitles? Or
yeah.
Okay.
So in fact, mostly it's the other way around. They show it in the original version, and then they add Spanish subtitles. So that's how I saw The Substance. Although they did shoot a new Substance title card, La Substancia, which I was like, I think Spanish speakers could have gotten The Substance out of the regular title card, but it was it was incredibly amazing that they designed other title cards for other languages for that stark shot on the screen. Of
Right,
The
that's
Substance.
cool.
La Substance.
La Substancia. Yeah, I mean, just whatever. Go on, Spanish.
All right, and the last piece of news that affects me very personally, Chattanooga Film Fest has released their final wave of programming. David Dasmalkian is going to be doing a secret screening pick for their Red Eye series.
Wow.
That he'll be introducing. They had a lot more movies. It's hard to talk about any particular movies because they're all new. That's what's so cool about a film fest is I don't know anything about anything I sit down to watch when I go there.
Is he going to be there?
I'm not sure if David's going to be there or not. If he is, I will find him and say, hey, you ever heard of a podcast called Dads from the Crypt? I do know one that they're going to have that will be debuting at Chattanooga Film Fest this year is called Self-Help. And it's the next movie from the guy who made Founders Day, which I thought was a pretty decent pressure. So I'm excited for that. Chattanooga Film Fest always has horror roots. And so we're definitely going to get some horror stuff there. And I just can't wait. If you want to attend, you can still buy tickets at chatfilmfest.org to either go in person or virtually, which I want to emphasize this again. The virtual side is still really cool. You're not missing out by doing it virtually. Do it virtually.
And you get to meet me and Jody. It'll be cool.
That's right. If you come, either in the chat rooms, the Discord server, or in person if you make it out in person.
That's sweet.
That's awesome. Well, we're talking about that kind of stuff. I went to Pasadena Comic-Con this last weekend. I don't usually go, but Jeanette Goldstein Vasquez from Alien was going to be there. And I have a really cool Alien NECA figure of her, so I want to get that signed. And then my daughter's actually been really into some anime TV shows, so she thought it'd be cool to go. And if you live in this town where they have like a smaller Comic-Con, bring your kids, let them just look at stuff and geek out for a while. They usually either free or real cheap, so she had a really good time. And I got to meet Jeanette, and she was amazing as always. And I had her sign mine, but our friend Rachel Shadow from the Zombie Girls and More Deadly, that's like Vasquez is her favorite character of all time, so I got her to sign it. I got an autograph for her. And we're texting, we're trying to figure out what should Jeanette say. We're going through Vasquez quotes, and the one that we landed on that made us laugh the hardest was, "You always were an asshole, Rachel."
Nice. Great choice.
Perfect.
So that was really fun. And then, unfortunately, by the time this comes out, it'll be over. But this weekend, I'm going to a Monsterpalooza, which is like one of the biggest. If not the biggest. It's that one of Midsummer. I haven't been to the Midsummer. But it is one of the biggest Southern California horror conventions, and it's always a good time. I just saw Todd Masters is going to be there, so I'll say hi to him. There's a bunch of people are going to be there. There's too many to even mention. So Jimmy Simpson is writing a movie called Slay, directed by Kyra Gardner.
Okay.
And Chris Gardner obviously is doing the effects for it, and they're doing a panel. And with Zoran Gavoich from Dead Meat, it's gonna be the moderator, so I'm excited to hear about that. And also, I saw an email blast from John Harrison that he has new music coming out. As kind of like
nice.
a soundtrack for one of the short story, not a short story, but one of the novels that he recently came out with. So he's got new music. He's also attending a screening of Queen of the Dead, which is a zombie movie made by George Romero's daughter, which I didn't know anything about. So I think they're still looking for distribution, but they're doing some early screenings. So that's something to keep your eye on. I thought it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up, David, is there anything else you want to plug? Where's your socials and all that?
Absolutely, yeah. If folks want to find more of me directly, you can find me online almost anywhere as Dmuma. That's DMUMA. And for my podcast, I talked a little bit about gimmicks at the top. We cover high concept, weird, experimental episodes of television in usual, otherwise normal series. This week, actually, we're still talking Black Mirror. We're not going to drop our San Junipero, but we decided to do a bonus recording about Netflix removing Bandersnatch and their other interactive films. And so we talk a little bit about what it means for people who are going to watch television 10 years from now, that these will just be harder to find.
Yeah.
I assure you they are still available. You just have to be willing to do things that maybe don't feel legal. That one's dropping this week. I host another podcast called Are You My Mother, where we talk about moms in media and explore, just how they are portrayed and how that informs our views of mothers in the world. We just dropped an episode of Lois in Malcolm in the Middle. Probably the closest I'll get to a horror franchise in a while is Lois, because she's pretty terrifying. And then last but not least, my friends Marilee and Tyler have dragged me into horror. I'm not a horror guy. That's the thing, is I love you all. I love listening, and then I put it away in a little box. But they really wanted to talk about horror. They needed a producer and co-host. So I'm on a podcast called Fear Coded, where we take a look at an entry in the horror genre and then talk about how gay everything is. And because it's Pride Month, we are covering Cristin Milioti types all month long. We are talking about fabulous women, the divas of the world. And so next week, we've got an episode dropping on whatever happened to Baby Jane, talking about the original psycho biddy of it all.
Psycho indeed.
Have you guys seen the Penguin series on HBO, by the way, with Cristin Milioti?
Yes.
Yeah,
I love her.
Really good.
Hey, if we're pitching Milioti stuff, if you liked Milioti in this and you like weird stuff, I really must recommend The Resort. I think it is a fantastic film. J.K. Simmons is in it. Adam Sandberg is in it. It is very, very good. But it's a time loop.
I remember that, but I haven't watched it. Yeah.
Oh, is that the one in Palm Springs? Or is that a different one?
Yeah. Or something Palm Springs like. I don't remember if it was exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That's one of those movies that's like been in my head to watch, and I just never sat down and done it. Yeah. But okay,
give yourself a cute 85 minutes. It is a delightful movie, not a horror movie. I don't think you all could cover it, but
we cover what we want. It's our podcast.
There you go.
I'm the Admiral. I can say
next year then Milioti May just do All My Girl all month long.
There we go.
I can live with that. That'd be fun.
All right, David. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate everyone for listening. I'd really appreciate it if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, a like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.